Today on the show, we're talking about the Adler shotgun. It's something that's been debated for a while. Currently, you can't import the 7-shot Adler shotgun into the country, but it's made its way back into the parliamentary debate this week. And in the last 24 hours, Malcolm Turnbull, the current Prime Minister, and Tony Abbott, the former Prime Minister, have contradicted each other over the policy surrounding this gun.
Yeah, because Turnbull, it took him a while to make a decision, 7 hours or something, which people were saying he should have been able to make a decision straight away. But he eventually said, no, the guns shouldn't be allowed, right?
No, it's not that simple. It's actually really complicated.
Oh, shit, and Tom.
Well, thank God there's a half-an-hour program to get stuck into it.
You know what? Here it is. You are listening to Triple J's Hack program. I'm Tom Tilley. It's time to talk about guns. How do you feel about guns? If a shotgun that could fire 8 shots in under 8 seconds were let into the country, would you feel less safe on our streets? Well, the Adler shotgun can fire that quickly, but at the moment you're not allowed to import that particular gun into the country. Now, the ban on the Adler shotgun has divided our government this week. In the last 24 hours, both the Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull and the former Prime Minister Tony Abbott have said conflicting things about the gun. So what have they said, and why is this gun so controversial? Let's find out with Shalala Medora.
Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has been trying desperately to keep the focus on union corruption this week. But things haven't been going his way.
They are not fit to be the government.
The government doesn't have a majority in the Senate and needs to woo a number of crossbenchers, senators from other parties, in order to pass any legislation. Liberal Democrat David Leyonhjelm is thinking twice about supporting anything the government puts up. He's sore because he says the coalition went back on a promise in August last year to end the ban on the Adler shotgun.
It's very, very, very much an unhealed wound. I have been absolutely dudded over this. So they're going to have to find a way to repair the damage.
The chaos basically centres around an email sent to David Leyonhjelm from the offices of the Immigration Minister Peter Dutton and Justice Minister Michael Keenan. Senator Leyonhjelm reckons the email amounted to a rolled gold, rock-solid promise to lift the ban on the Adler shotgun. No dice, says Tony Abbott, who was Prime Minister at the time.
There's an email from a staffer in a minister's office. No deals from me, no deals from my office, no deal. I think it's very important that we do not play games with laws that have kept our country safe. And that's what this senator was apparently seeking to do.
In question time today, shots were fired at Tony Abbott from his own side, with Ministers Dutton and Keenan saying his office did know about the deal. And Malcolm Turnbull's had a go at his predecessor too, by urging a reclassification of the Adler.
We are encouraging the states to come to a consensus which will see a reclassification with an appropriately tighter classification on those lever-action weapons. And, of course, once that consensus is reached and the reclassification is fully implemented, the ban would be lifted.
This balls up on gun regulation is, well, a bit of a distraction, really, because it's actually up to the states to decide what classification firearms are given. They all have to agree before change can be made. State and Territory police and justice ministers are meeting in Melbourne tomorrow to nut out a way forward on gun control. The Adler 7 cartridge shotgun is a lever-action weapon and is currently classified as a Class A weapon. That's the lowest rating you can get, the same as paintball guns. But it's still banned because of the number of rounds it fires.
Shotguns with a magazine capacity of more than 5 rounds, and that is the class of shotgun that has been banned from importation since last year.
Weirdly, moving the Adler up to higher classifications, which would mean gun owners would have to jump through more hoops to get their hands on it, would end the ban. So that weapon could be imported, and there's already a waiting list for it. New South Wales wants it reclassified. The National Party represents farmers who say they need the Adler in order to shoot feral pigs, and they're leading the push to reclassify the weapon. Here's National Senator Bridget McKenzie.
I think New South Wales has taken the lead, as selected a highly appropriate classification for that particular gun, and I'd call on states and territories right across the country to actually look at the evidence, take the emotion out of it.
But other states, like Western Australia, aren't so sure.
Well, look, I'm far from being an expert on guns, but I guess as a matter of policy, I do not support that gun. I saw some footage on television of it being fired. It's obviously rapid fire capacity. Australia has put in policies to contain gun ownership and use, and I do not support allowing a weapon like that into this state.
All of this means that the Prime Minister is tying himself in knots to prove his government isn't watering down Australia's gun laws, despite effectively calling for a ban to be lifted. And it's not even his patch anyway.
Hack Triple J.
Shalala Medora reporting on the text line. I think it's crazy it could be allowed. I was held up at gunpoint at my shop last week, and the idea that crooks could get their hands on these kinds of weapons easier is ridiculous. James from Bentley. James from somewhere else says, hey guys, hope you talk facts about the Adler. It's no new technology. It's not a firearm suited to criminals. It's 1.24 metres long and 3.2 kilos heavy. Thanks. Licensed shooter here. I don't want an Adler, but I believe it should be brought into the country under C or D classification. Licensed shooters with the Adler do not worry me. It is the criminals who steal from these shooters that worry me. Well, I'd love to hear from you on the Adler. 1300 0555 36 is the number. You're about to meet two people that do disagree very strongly on this debate. Jeff Jones is the president of the Sporting Shooters Association of Australia, and Samantha Lee is the chair of an organisation called Gun Control Australia. Now, welcome to both of you. Jeff, to you first. Why should Australians have access to this gun?
Well, Tom, they've actually had access to this firearm for the last 100 years. Since the 1996 National Firearms Agreement, they have had access to it under that agreement, and there are literally hundreds of those firearms already in the country with no evidence whatsoever of any misuse of those firearms.
So why should we have more of them?
Well, it's not a matter of why should we have more. There actually was a restriction placed on certain types of firearms, which restricted their ability to be able to be used for feral animal control. And I know there's very few feral animals in Sydney, Melbourne, or Canberra. But the rural regions of New South Wales or Queensland, there are substantial numbers, and there's a legitimate reason to have these available, to be quite frank.
Okay, and is that the main reason for shooting feral animals, or is that the only reason?
Well, that's the primary reason. In fact, at the moment, these people are being forced to use sporting firearms that we'd normally use for clay target shooting.
Okay,
now,
and
that's not appropriate.
And why is this gun particularly good for that purpose, Jeff? Because you can already get pump-action shotguns. Why do you want this gun as well?
No, the pump-action shotguns are not available to normal licensed shooters.
Sure, but they are available in Australia.
Yes, but only to a higher classification. I do mean the vast majority of people who do carry out and conduct these types of activities do not have access to Category C firearms.
Okay, Samantha Lee, I'll bring you into the conversation. You want the ban on the Adler shotgun to continue. What concerns you about the gun?
Well, one has to ask the question why or the fuss about this lever action if they have been in the country for so long. The reasons why it's in such demand is because its magazine capacity. It can hold up to 8 shots. The other reason being is that its magazine can be easily removed and a new magazine put in place that extends that magazine to up to 11 shots. And this is why it is wanted. It's also going to be available to the most common firearm licence holder in Australia, which is Category A and B, which is over 800,000 licence holders in Australia.
But what worries you about it? Are you afraid that it will get into the wrong hands and be used on people? Is that what you're worried about?
The problem with rapid-style firearms, which this one is that they are commonly used in massacres. The other issue is that Category A and B firearms are often stolen from residential dwellings and fall into the black market. By no means am I saying that everyone that owns one of these guns is going to go out and commit a massacre. I mean, that's not the case. And most people that own firearms probably won't hurt anyone. But the problem is that we just want to minimise the potential harm that could stem from rapid firearms being in the general community. We don't know who commits massacres, and so we minimise harm. We also want to minimise the drift of guns being stolen and falling into the black market, and those guns being rapid-style firearms.
Jeff, does that concern you that these guns might end up in the wrong hands?
No, it doesn't at all, Tom. In fact, the level of theft of firearms in Australia, considering the number of licensed firearms owners and the number of firearms, is incredibly small. It receives a high-profile attention, and we and the police forces through the country are always very, very conscious of it, and we deal with it at every possible opportunity. But in fact, this particular firearm would be the least type of firearm preferred by any criminal. In fact, they can't be effectively cut down because they can't actually be used and controlled if they're cut down. Criminals cut these down. They don't use them in their full form. And I heard one of your earlier responses in suggesting or telling you actually how long it was and how heavy it was. So criminals, when they carry out these sorts of things, some of the preferred types of firearms are the simpler types of firearms. This particular firearm doesn't fall into any of those categories. It has not been used in massacres. There is no evidence whatsoever to support the emotional concern that people have brought forward.
All right.
I understand that people who don't understand, and most people who are objecting to it, admit quite openly they have no technical knowledge, they don't understand what it is, they've seen something on TV which was actually if you like, advertising, and we know what advertising is about. So, as I say, there's actually really quite a clear misdirection on this whole issue.
Okay, Jeff, I want to hear from some of the listeners. One person says, I've never seen a gun kill anyone on its own. It's the dick holding them. If they want to harden gun laws, go towards the licensing system and psychological tests. Someone else says, how many feral animals were there in Port Arthur? Someone else, referring to Samantha Lee, says, this chick knows her shit. Well done, Dr. Jones Inverloch. Stefan from Adelaide, what's your point of view on the Adler shotgun? Oh, sorry. Jason, go ahead.
Yes. How you going? Thanks. Yeah, I support Jeff. I think this Adler shotgun is no different than any other shotgun that's been in the country for the better part of 100 years. And the issue with...
So when you say that, just to clarify, you mean this type of lever-action shotgun, not this particular brand?
I mean, Samantha Lee does say, she's actually lying to the listeners. What she says is that these types of firearms are the preferred use for mass shootings. Well, that's not true at all. I mean, if she can tell me in the last 5 years any lever-action shotgun or rifle that's actually been used in a crime, I mean, she deserves a medal, because the research I've done doesn't prove that statement actually to be true whatsoever.
All right, well, I'll put that back to Samantha Lee. Samantha Lee, what do you say to that?
Look, the whole issue is that these are different types of lever-action shotguns.
No, that's a lie. No, they're not. They're not.
Sorry, can I just finish
So
my point?
go ahead, Sam.
They're a modern design firearms, and they were promoted by the company importing them as a game changer for the Australian market. They're a rapid-style firearms. I'm not saying this one in particular has been used in massacres because it's just recently been imported, but rapid-style firearms, a firearm that can shoot 8 shots in 8 seconds.
So are you saying specifically, Samantha, that a lever-action shotgun has been used in lots of massacres that have killed people? Or are you using a broader category of, like, rapid fire there?
I'm saying rapid fire guns are used in massacres, and this is a new type of lever action which has been changed to a rapid style firearm. The old lever actions were only capable of holding 1 to 2 ammunitions in the gun. These new lever actions can hold up to 11 rounds of ammunition.
Okay.
So this is what changes them. It also...
All right, I want to give Jason a quick chance to reply before we move on to a discussion about masculinity, which is coming straight after a discussion about guns. Jason, what do you say to that?
Well, since 1996, we've had like the IAC 1887, which is basically the exact same action of firearm. This just looks a bit newer. Since 1996, no one has even attempted to commit a mass shooting with a lever-action firearm or rifle. Man Monis used a pump shotgun. I think they were incorrectly classified in 1996. And I also think, where did Man Monis get that firearm? He got that firearm from the illegal black market, which was 20 years ago. Those firearms were basically confiscated from law-abiding people. So,
all right. Well, Jason, thank you.
The question.
Thank you so much for calling in with your opinion there on the text line. So I don't understand what the benefit of having access to the shotgun is. Sam from Glen Iris, we've been hearing that it's for hunting feral animals. Someone else says it's not appropriate to punish people for crimes that they haven't committed, which is a really interesting point. I think this debate will continue. It will be the discussion of a COAG meeting, which is where all the leaders of the states get together. That will be happening tomorrow. So I imagine you want to be keeping an eye on this story. Samantha Lee from Gun Control Australia, thank you for joining us. Jeff Jones from the Sporting Shooters Association, thank you as well.
Hack. Don't